Have you ever wanted chocolate chip cookies so badly that you just start daydreaming about them? Smelling them baking, taking them out of the oven, waiting for them to cool just enough so you can dunk them in milk and take a bite. The delectable taste with the perfect amount of chocolate chips. Oh, my mouth is watering. Let's look up some recipes. Chocolate chip cookies. Here's one. Chocolate chip cookies. Ingredients for 4 dozen cookies? If 1 dozen is 12, then that means that 4 dozen is 12, 24, 36, 48? 4 dozen is 48? I'm about to make 48 cookies? No, I can't use this recipe. I don't need 48 cookies.
Cut the recipe in half.
What? What do you mean, Granny Grams?
If you don't want to make 48 cookies, but you still want to use the recipe, just cut it in half.
Oh, so Granny Grams is saying that if I don't want 48 cookies, if I have the entire recipe, so just put in half of all the ingredients, then I'll get half of the amount of cookies. So instead of 4 dozen cookies, I'll get 2 dozen cookies. 12, 24. 24 cookies is perfect. Hey, Granny Grams, are you gonna be around? Because I might need a little bit of help in the kitchen when I'm cutting all these ingredients in half.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you. Let's start. Welcome to the kitchen. Make sure if you are ever trying to cook, you do so alongside a trusted adult and you are safe and have permission. The first ingredient that we are going to have for these chocolate chip cookies are the eggs. So the recipe for 4 dozen cookies calls for 2 eggs. So what's half of 2 eggs? If you said 1, you are correct. Half of 2 is 1. The next ingredient is 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So right here I have some measuring cups, and this one says 1 teaspoon. So if the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons, but if I'm only going to do half of that, how many of these am I going to put in? If you said 1, you are correct. The next ingredient is 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. So I have 1 tablespoon, but I need to split this in half. How do you split 1 in half? It's already just 1. Granny Grams?
Yeah?
I need help.
All right, stop yapping. I'm coming. Let's see, what do we have here? If you're trying to split a tablespoon in half, it's just that, 1/2. You need a half of a tablespoon. If you have half a tablespoon, use that. Otherwise, just fill up the tablespoon halfway.
Thanks, Granny Grams. The next ingredient is 1 teaspoon of salt. Similar to the last one, we started with 1. So if the original recipe called for 1 teaspoon, then for my recipe, I'm going to do half of that. So I'm going to do half a teaspoon. Perfect. The next ingredient is a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Well, I have my 1/2 cup right here, but I need half of that. What's half of a cup? I mean, I guess I could just fill this up halfway, but what does that mean? Granny Grams, what's half of a half?
Half of a half? That's easy as pie. Let me show you how it's done. You can figure this one out by using a fraction model. We can clearly see that half of a half is a fourth. You could also multiply 1/2 times 1/2. It's easy. Multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. The answer is 1/4. So either use a fourth of a cup or fill your half cup up halfway.
Perfect. The next ingredient is 1.5 cups of butter or 3 sticks. So here I have 3 sticks of butter. So what would this be in half? Well, if I cut it right in half, right at the 1.5 mark. So that means that half of 3 is 1.5. So I need 1.5 sticks of butter. So I don't need this one. The next ingredient is 4 cups and 3 tablespoons of flour. So I think we could do this one without granny grams. So if I need 4 cups of flour, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I want half that amount, how many cups would it be? If you said 2, you are correct. All right, so we got that part. What about 3 tablespoons? What's half of 3 tablespoons? You might know from the butter. If you said 1.5, you are correct. So we need 2 cups and 1.5 tablespoons of flour. The next ingredient is 3 cups of chocolate chips. 1, 2, 3. You know what half of 3 is. What's half of 3? If you said 1.5, you are correct. The next ingredient is 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. Okay, 1.5. Granny grams.
I can never rest around here, can I? All right, let's see. Easy peasy. If we draw out 1.5 and label it in fourths, it's clear to see that 3/4 is half of 1.5. 1.5 is also the same as 3 halves. So we can also multiply 3 halves times 1/2 to get the answer of 3/4. Fill up your 1 tablespoon most of the way, but not all.
The last ingredient we need is 1 3/4 cups of brown sugar. 1 3/4. Granny grams, I think I need your help with this last one too.
Yeah, this better be the last one. 1 3/4 is the same as having 7/4. After you write it like that, you can multiply it by 1/2 to get the answer of 7/8. Now, typically, you don't have measuring cups in eighths, so just fill up your cup most of the way, but not all.
Okay, all the ingredients are halved. We're ready to follow the directions and make these cookies. These might be the fluffiest chocolate chip cookies I have ever made. Wow. These cookies were worth all the math work. Thanks for your help, Granny Grams.
Yeah.
As you can see, fractions are so important and can help us do everyday things like cook. I've had so much fun cooking and doing math with you guys today. Bye, pro students.
Cookies.